did the names come into play? When did you guys come up with that idea?
Well, man, you know,
the name Bone Thugs and Harmony, and then everybody having Bone in their name.
Well, first of all, you know, after high school, you know, is when we really turned up in the streets. You know what I'm saying? We got like really hot boys, and it's crazy because we wasn't no drug kingpins, but we just known the hustle. We hustle to survive day to day.
But you guys were mostly robbing. You weren't like actual drug dealers.
No, we sold dope. We sold weed.
Okay.
And if we didn't have it, we took yours and sold yours. You know what I'm saying? That's just what we used to do. But
right.
But yeah, you know, so by that time, like we on the streets hard, and Lay and Wish, they hitting the block. They like scraping the block every day. They getting fronted by some real like kingpins. You know what I'm saying? So I think Lay get knocked with like 1,000 rocks on him. I'm sitting at home watching with my parents and like watching the news, and they show this dude on the news, and my mother like, "See, I told you about hanging with them." I'm like, oh my God.
It could have been you.
Yeah. So
wow.
So after that, Lazy gets sent. He gets sent to juvenile because he was like 16, 17.
For 1,000 rocks.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's lucky.
Yeah. He gets sent to juvenile, and you know, I ain't hear from him for a long time, and then I heard the only way he could get out was if he went to go live with his uncle in Texas, in Dallas, Texas. So Lazy went down there and lived down there for like a year or so. And I ain't hear from him like at all. So like I was still doing music, but I was still doing it with other people, like just making music like just randomly. And then like after a year or so, Lazy came back, and Lay said him and this dude had something called Bone Enterprise.
Uh-huh.
And Lazy Bone was actually Busy Bone first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Lazy Bone was Busy Bone, and he was like, we should use this name for our little thing. You know what I'm saying? I was like, cool, I'm down with it. And we all have a Bone name, but at the time it was only me and Lazy Bone.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, cool, I'm gonna be Krayzie Bone, and he was like, I'm gonna be Lazy Bone, and like it was just Krayzie and Lazy.
Right.
You know, that's the whole foundation of Bone. Like, you know what I'm saying? When it first started, it was Krayzie and Lazy. That's why our names rhyme.
Let me ask this. At that time, nobody was actually saying bone as slang for having sex either, right?
No.
That's interesting that came in later.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's like always weird to have like the name of a thing all of a sudden become a slang term for another thing, you know?
Definitely, man.
Could open up lyrical possibilities though.
Definitely. I'm thinking about it. Yeah. Definitely.
Right. So okay, that's how the names all sort of came into play and everything.
Yes, indeed. And then you know, Busy. It took us a minute to let Busy in the group, and then I had to convince Lay to let the dude in. The lady man, because Lay didn't want to let him in the group at first. I was like, bro, let the little nigga in the group, man. Damn, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Because I thought he was dope. You know what I'm saying? And he had been hanging around us a lot. Busy actually didn't start hanging around us until high school.
Okay.
So we was almost about to be out of high school, drop out of high school.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, he was the last member of the group to come into the group. How
overall, in terms of all the years combined, how hard has it been for you guys to stay a group? Because it's when you look at the history of rap groups, there's so many amazing groups that if they had stayed together, would have been able to make absurd amounts of money.
Yeah.
NWA, Wu-Tang, I could sit here all day.
Yes.
You guys have held it together better than most in terms of really keeping that unity, which is weird because it's like realistically 4 dudes that meet when you're 16, all of a sudden you're in your 30s. What the fuck do you have in common?
Yeah.
Not a lot. It's like it takes a real commitment to keep everybody on the same page.
Man, well, you know, we consider ourselves to be like real brothers. You know what I'm saying? We weren't brought together. Everything about Bone happened. It seemed like it was meant to be. You know, like the way we met, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't staged, it wasn't put together the way we met and everything, you know what I'm saying? And we bonded together. Like we went through some real life struggles together on the streets, whether it was everybody watching me go through my family situation or me watching them go through theirs, you know what I'm saying? And they were all similar. So we bonded and we was all we had. For all those years when we was grinding, we was all we had. I remember when we first came out here and Easy saw how close we were. We was in the studio one time. And, you know, we out here in LA, we don't know nobody. It's just us from Cleveland. You know, all we got is us. So when one of us would get up to go to the bathroom, the other four would go stand by the door.
Really? Wow.
Easy would be like, yo, y'all dudes is like tight for real. He was like, I wish me and my dudes would have been like that because it'd have been cracking.
Right.
Like for real. Because like he knew that like we was real brothers. And it's still like that. Even though like you may hear in the media that this one is arguing or this, man, that's what brothers do. That's what family do. But, you know, we vowed to never have this money situation, have us at each other's throat. We'd rather stop doing business together and still be family.
Really?
Real talk.
Because you see so many rappers who are just straight in the dirt with their homies, and then they get famous, and 6 months later they hate each other and they can't stand each other.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they forget about the fact that they were there for each other when they didn't have shit. That just disappears from their mind so quickly once they start having things.
Yeah, man, you know what? I mean, well, you know what they say about money, you know, like money and friends, but, you know, it's just like, it's never that serious. It's always about the family. Like, I mean, we love making money, you know, and we very fortunate to have a 25-year run to where we're still in demand across the globe.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's a blessing in itself. So everybody understands, you know, like we over all everybody should be over all the egos and all the dumb shit you go through like earlier in your career, you know, because we're in our 40s now, man. You know what I'm saying? We, like I said, we blessed to still be here, able to do what we do.
Yeah. Is it easier to get along now that you guys are adults, you got families, you got like you know, if you go and do a show, it's kind of like just going to a day at work, right?
Hell no, it ain't.
No?
Still, no, it's family, man. Like I said, and when you're that comfortable with people, your brother gonna always shot you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When you're that comfortable, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna always bump heads. A person is gonna always, when you're that comfortable with people, I'm sure it's something that annoys you about each and every one of them.
I've watched interviews with you and other members being interviewed together, or not even just you, but just everybody in general, where I felt like I could read emotions on people's faces, and I could almost tell who was a little annoyed with who was having a bad day, who was maybe just not feeling this, who got a little annoyed when a certain member started talking too long.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there thinking like, this is interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Because it happens though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have your days where you be like, would you just shut them and let somebody else talk?
Yeah, but I see it all the time with different rap groups and everything, and that's always what I'm impressed by is their ability to, you know, I was interviewing ICP, and I felt like I fucking felt that vibe between them a little bit, almost like they both wanted to talk a lot. Mm-hmm. But they never even though I could tell that they sort of was jockeying for position so much that they didn't let it bother them enough that it actually became a thing. And I think that's what is kind of like the sign that a group's going to be able to last for a long time is if they can have these little disagreements and you can just sort of brush them aside. Yeah,
man, because we never really had no major money disputes. You know what I'm saying? Everything was always broken down evenly,
right,
across the table. You know, because we started this journey as brothers. We're going to go through every single bit of it as brothers, sharing everything equally from day one to now. Yeah. We still, no matter who rapped on this song or who didn't, everybody's still going to get the same thing.
And you always just got to like keep in mind that you guys created something together that's bigger than any of you on your own. And that's got to feel crazy to have like formed a brand that is bigger than the sum of the parts.
Yes, it is. Man, and that is crazy because I tell people that all the time. I'm like, one member doesn't make the group. We've done shows, bone shows, you know, with 3 members in one city and the other 2 members in another city the same night, and they both sell out in different cities.
Wow, really?
In different cities, like, you know what I'm saying. So it's like as long as people hear the Bone music, the music is bigger than us. It's bigger than Bone. Like, so regardless if I'm tired of doing it, tired of getting on stage doing the same songs, it's in full demand still.
That's crazy because there's very few rap groups that are like that. There's usually a Beyonce.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
Like if we sit here and talk about Wu-Tang, I mean, you could name the Wu-Tang members that are world famous, and there's Wu-Tang members who really just mostly the hardcore Wu-Tang fans know them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of crazy. That's interesting. Do you feel you're wearing the Wu-Tang hat? Is that like a group that you always felt a close sort of kinship with?
Yeah, man. You know, because we came in around the same
Right.
the same era. You know what I'm saying? I really didn't like start listening to Wu-Tang until like later, to after they came out. You know what I'm saying? But we was cool with Meth, RZA. You know what I'm saying? We was the Meth was one of the first ones we got cool with. You know what I'm saying? Then we met like Raekwon, and you know what I'm saying? After the little drama we supposedly had back in the day. It was crazy.
Wait, damn, what was that? I can't even remember.
Man, it was some Def Jam Christmas party, man, that jumped off, and it was just like it was like crazy, man. It was just like boned against the whole East Coast that night. It was crazy.
Really?
Yeah, man. Because we went there. I don't know. I really don't know what happened. All I know is we got to the party too early. We was young, and as soon as we got there, we started drinking, and we was drunk by 11 o'clock. And when we get drunk, we just start getting wild, like for real.
Right.
That's basically how it happened. But like everything got squashed, man. Those dudes was cool. Every time I see Raekwon, I'm like, yo, man, we need to make some kind of collaboration happen with Bone and Wu-Tang, man. We need to bring this together. Because every time we see each other, man, we mention it. Like, so we got to make that happen for a tour or something.
Have you been watching the TV show?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually when I start watching shows, I like to let a couple episodes go past so I can like watch them back to back. You know what I'm saying?
I only seen the first one, but it's really interesting because they basically like, it's not the story of Wu-Tang. It's all these characters that are based on Wu-Tang, and then there's different storylines happening. Like the beginning of it is like a big shooting, and then like a guy shoots up somebody's house, and then he goes and he's like hanging out with RZA and shit, and you're like, who is this guy that did the shooting? And then at some point you have to realize like that's not a member of Wu-Tang. That's just a character in this show who's supposed to exist within the Wu-Tang universe.
Wow. Okay,
So that's kind of weird, right? Like to think that there could be a story that's set in your neighborhood. You guys have characters based on you, but there's all kinds of wild shit. It's not attempting to tell the actual legitimate story. It's to tell a good story in the universe.
It's kind of interesting because we did a movie like that called I Tried. Like a few years ago when we were signed to Interscope and we released the Strength and Loyalty album, we did a thing like that because we tried to shoot. We were going to shoot something in Cleveland, but what happened was we decided to shoot on the coldest day ever in Cleveland. It was like 30 below zero. The cameras was freezing, so we was like, yo, let's pack this shit up and do it in LA and just change the story around. So it was supposed to be about what if we came to LA to meet Easy, but we never met Easy. What would we be doing?
Wow.
And the shit was just like crazy. Like we was like getting into all type of shit.
That is really interesting. Yeah, like an alternate universe. But what's interesting about it is it's almost like, now they just make superhero movies over and over. Like we've seen like 15 different Batman movies that are like different versions of the Batman story. It's almost like, I wonder if they'll just start treating rappers like that, where we'll have, why have one NWA movie when we can have a whole bunch of NWA movies, different versions of it. There's just so much content that comes out now that wouldn't even surprise me if 20 years from now, there's like 4 different Bone Thugs movies that have come out.
Man, never know. For real.
That's weird to think about, huh?
For real.
How'd you feel about this fucking Japanese kid that came out all the way to America to try to meet you guys?
Yo, man, when I first heard about it, because actually Lazy had told me about this before it even hit the press, because we got a call one day, we was on the road, and one of the homies, a dude named Big H, he hit Lay, and he was like, yo, man, it's this dude from Japan down here. He don't speak no English. He said he came down here to meet y'all and to get signed by y'all, but he say dudes that robbed him. He was like, and I don't want to leave him in the hood down here because he looking like a victim.
I wonder, do we know who robbed him or like what that scenario was like?
Man, I don't know who it was.
Could have been anybody.
Could have been anybody. You know what I'm saying? So my dude took him in, and some of my other homies, I guess they went and snatched him up or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But I really thought nothing of it because it's fans that come down like from all over the world to that street. People have sent me pictures, like a dude from Australia sent me, like somewhere from Europe, and like people have come from everywhere like to take pictures on that street, and I'll be taking them back. I'll be like, okay, you got your picture now, run for your life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
don't hang around.
And
over
I'm
there
assuming
like
you don't spend a lot of time there these days.
Man, I mean, every time I go back, that's where I go.
Right. Okay.
I always, because that's everybody I know. That's where they are. So I always go there.
But that's when you go back. It's like you, as a successful person with an actual recording career, you don't really have a reason to be on the block that you grew up on or
Exactly.
whatever. But this Japanese kid is just assuming that you haven't moved in the past 30 fucking years.
Exactly. And I'm like, that was the thing that was kind of strange to me. I'm like, bro, like, I mean, I'm like, man, first, how did you even like find out how to get here to this place? Like,
Right.
I'm like,
if you go to the Sloss and Swap meet, you're not going to see Snoop. I hate to break it to you, but that's just, things have changed in his life.
Man, but it's crazy because somebody told me that he told them that he found our street from the little map that was on our album.
Wow.
I say, bro, like, I don't even know how to read that, man. I don't even know what the maps say. How did you do that?
What the fuck?
Like, no bullshit. I'm like, man, it's crazy.
But certain people, like when you go to Japan, there's certain people just develop like a passion or interest in American culture to the extent that it is almost just bizarre by our standards. Like I remember being out there and seeing like somebody pulls up on us in a crazy lowrider that's just bumping up and down and shit. And they're like, just like California. And I'm like, yeah, not like this guy's just driving this. This is just what he drives every day. I'm like, nobody does that in California. People have collections of these cars and they bring them out for events and shit, but nobody drives around in that. People drive around in fucking Teslas and Civics and shit.
That's true. Real talk. For real.
But it's just so crazy to think that this kid had that passionate of a draw to you that he might be crazy.
Yeah, man, well, I haven't. From what I hear, he doesn't even want to go home.
Right.
He's saying he don't want to go home. I was like, okay, well, it's gonna be kind of hard to tell ICE that when they come looking for you. But I mean, if you got a plan, but like so far, he got people down there, like this helping him out. From what I hear, I haven't been to Cleveland yet, but if he still didn't want to go to Cleveland, I definitely want to meet him and sit down and just like, I just want to hear his plan and what his plan was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, I even listen to his music. I'll listen to him to see what he sounds like, you know what I'm saying? But
it's worth a shot. That could be a good story. I
mean, but he's doing good. His social media is on fire right now.
Really?
He got over 1 million followers.
What? From that?
He got a from what I hear, there's a record label in Japan that wants to talk to him when he gets back. If he goes back, he said he ain't going back, but
Imagine that happened and his name was like, Chan Bone. Or like what I don't know what his actual name is, but like Japanese name Bone, and then you guys just co-sign. That'd be like T.I. signing Iggy Azalea. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm from the trap, but I'm gonna take this fucking insurgent Australian girl and just make her go and just talk with an Atlanta accent.
Yeah, for real.
Crazy. Jeez. Man, so when we talk about the greatest group of all time conversation, this is something that you got a little bit wrapped up in earlier this year. Is that something where you felt like, is it actually really important to you that you guys are considered the best group of all time, or is it just a respect thing where you just want people to, when they have that conversation, to give Bone the respect they deserve? What's your thinking on that?
Man, it's like I really don't even give a damn what people think. Like, I really don't, and that's really truthfully it means more to certain people than me. Yeah, it's cool when people notice what you do, you know what I'm saying, and like, but I know what we did for hip hop. Our fans know what we did for hip hop. I always got my solidification from the fans. I done looked from like how many awards we got or how many times, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, going platinum was let you know how many fans you actually had. So, we did watch that a lot. But like, once we found out that our fans was behind us and they was ride or die through thick and thin, it was like I always went to them. I never went by what, the accolades you may receive because, like I tell everybody all the time, like the best reward to me is when the fans come up to you and say, you helped them from committing suicide, or you know what I'm saying, like your music helped me get through life. I was going through it. I was thinking about committing suicide or stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like you're actually like our music is actually helping people like in those kind of ways. So that's the whole blessing out of it to me. Like who's the best? everybody is supposed to think they're the best. If you had success like Bone Thugs and Harmony or the Migos or Public Enemy or any other group that has been successful, you're supposed to think you're the best. The Migos, they're in their prime. They're supposed to feel like they're the greatest right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and I understand what Lazy is saying. You know, he feel like, you know, that stems from a whole, not just with the Migos, but just us, like people never mentioning Bone like we never existed. I'm like, they, you know, I guess it get to him like when he hear rappers talk about their favorite rapper, but they rap just like Bone. But they don't say their favorite rapper is Bone.
That's what the crazy part is that rap has been around so long that there's hugely influential groups that came before our time. Like for me, like I started listening to rap like a couple years after Run DMC kind of had their run.
Yeah.
So I'll never really be able to properly understand what their influence was in comparison to Wu-Tang or Bone Thugs, where I was actually listening to the music. Or even now, it's like I've been watching Migos' career as an adult, where I actually really understand what's going on in the music business. That's an even entirely different thing. It's like it becomes very hard to, and I don't think that there's any value in being a current rapper having that kind of conversation about how you compare to Tupac, how you compare to Biggie. It's just there's no value in you even trying to have that conversation because nobody wants to hear it.
Yeah, man, I just feel like, you know, why can't everybody just be great within themselves? You know what I'm saying? You know, if you were blessed to get the attentions of the masses, then just be happy with that. Just be great. Just keep doing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole thing. Everybody got to look at the next person and be like, oh, no. It's always like a competition. I understand competition could be good. Hey, there's nothing wrong with it, but I don't go about everything like, oh, we got to be known as the best. We got to be, I know I'm one of the coldest MCs and niggas can't see me on the microphone if they try. You know what I'm saying? I know that, you know what I'm saying? So I don't have to run around and yell it and scream it. I go in the studio and I put it down on the song and I let them know. Like, I'm not just a rapper, I'm an artist.
What got you pissed off enough that you wanted to actually do the diss track at the Migos and 21?
Bro, that's the whole thing. That track was recorded way before that whole thing with Lazy Bone jumped off. Whoever went out there and made that album cover with me holding it, I had nothing to do with that.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking, I'm like, that's a little extreme. That's a lot.
Bro, I had nothing to do with that. That song I made was way before that beef even jumped off. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't, like, I was talking about dudes wearing dresses in the song. I ain't never seen the Migos with a dress on.
Oh, so it was just a different sort of overall fuck new school bullshit type song.
Not fuck the new school, you know what I'm saying? I was just saying, you know what I'm saying, like, just wasn't so much riding with the agenda. You know what I'm saying, of like, just basically saying, you know, like, that ain't where we come from. We real dudes out here, we real men. You know what I'm saying, that we gonna carry ourselves like real men, bottom line.